welcome back to my channel. In today's video I will tell you if cabin crew are allowed to get married, if you can become a cabin crew if you're already married. I will talk about both Qatar Airways and Emirates and the difference between them. I will also tell you if you can live with your spouse once you get married, and I will also talk about private chats. And at the end of the video I will tell you something that cabin crew do, and it's quite like crazy, you know, it will make you like ooh, because even me, when they told me, I was like, really? Anyways, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not with us, hit the thumbs up and share the video if you like it, and let's start. Qatar Airways and Emirates have different policies when it comes to married cabin crew. I will talk about both of them, but I will start with Emirates. Emirates don't really care if you're married, if you're single or anything, because they just want you. They're not looking to know about your life like outside of the job. They don't really care. And you cannot live with your spouse until you finish the probation, which is 6 months. I will keep on watching because I will tell you how you can still live with your spouse during that period of probation. You will have to provide them with a marriage certificate stamped in so many places. I will tell you where to stamp it, and I will also tell you like the steps one by one, and you have to follow that order. So just make sure that you have a piece of paper and a pen, because this is really important. When I wanted to do that, it took me really a while to understand where to stamp it, and I was mixed up, and I stamped it in some places before some other places, and then they made me go back again and stamp it. So make sure that you do it in the correct order. So you will have to stamp it in your country's external affairs first, and then in Emirates embassy in your country, and then you take it to your embassy, your country's embassy in UAE, in Dubai, and then you have to stamp it finally in the external affairs of Dubai. You will be charged a lot of money just for making these stamps, so make sure that you have enough money to stamp it before you even go to the administrations. It's not just queuing and waiting for them to stamp. You have to take money with you, and make sure you do it in this same order, otherwise you will be asked to do it again. And you have to do all of these before you take it to Emirates headquarters, and that will only take minutes. You know, when you go and take it to Emirates headquarters, it will only take minutes, and they will register your spouse under your name there, and you will be allowed to live out, and that's of course after your probation. Now you've received a golden call, and they told you that you will be a part of the amazing team and you will be a cabin crew. Guys, please make sure that you do it immediately. You take that marriage certificate and you stamp it immediately in those administrations, the two of them that I told you, in your home countries, because you don't want to go to Dubai and then just like have it all mixed up, and then you try to find people to stamp it back home for you and then to bring it to you. It will even take more time for you to like finish the process. So the moment they will tell you that you are accepted, go and do it immediately. And for Qatar Airways, unfortunately, it's a little bit different. They still do hire married people, but they don't just ask for marriage certificate, but they do a background check on your spouse, which can take a lot of time. Literally, it can take a lot of time. They will ask for every little detail about your spouse, and then they will do a background check about your spouse, and this can take a lot of time. And you can even get a rejection because of that, because if the process of your recruitment took a long time, then you will be rejected, unfortunately, automatically, and then you will have to reapply. So it's, you know, if you're married, your chances are unfortunately less than single people. Now again, for Emirates, for living out with your spouse, they do provide money for you. It might cover all of your rent, but at the same time it might not cover all of your rent. It depends where do you want to live. For example, if you want to live in Sheikh Zayed Road, then that money will never cover your rent, and you have to figure out another way to pay that money. And also How you ask to live out with your spouse. You just need, of course, that marriage certificate stamped in those many places, but also you need the rent contract. So you need to rent a house before you ask to live out. You need to rent a house, pay the money, and then take that rent contract to the headquarters, and they will accept that in like 2 days or 3 days, but then the money will be deposited in your account after a month. So you always have to be in advance, and you always have to have money for the rent before they send it to you, before like they pay you back for your rent. For Qatar Airways, it's slightly different, and it's not really like specific like Emirates. If you want to live with your spouse, then it actually depends on your profile. If you have an amazing profile and if your manager likes you. If you ask to live out with your spouse, you can have a yes and you can have a no. So if you have an amazing profile, you get along with your manager, then you're fine. They will tell you you are okay and you can live out, you can live with your spouse. But if you know your profile is like has some warnings and you don't really get along with your manager, then you will get a refusal, and I bet that sucks. Imagine like you have to live in the crew accommodation and your spouse is just living like meters away from you and you don't spend the night with your spouse. I bet that sucks. I really do bet that sucks. But supervisors are allowed to live with their spouses, and they even give them money for that. For money, they do not provide you with money unless you become like a supervisor or a purser. Then they will give you money for the rent, and this is like, you know, a little bit sad. Now you're already a cabin crew, you're single, and you want to get married. With Emirates, they don't care. Get married, don't even tell them until you get married. You come back from your days off, from your leave, and then just give them that certificate I've told you, and you've stamped it already, and then tell them, hey, hello, I got married, so I need some benefits for my husband. I need that free ticket. I need to live with him, blah, 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 blah. They don't care. So as long as you have that certificate stamped, you're fine. You don't even need to ask them. But for Qatar Airways, when you want to get married, you have to request. You have to have a written request to your manager, and you tell him that you want to get married, and then you wait for the approval. They will either tell you yes, you can get married, or no, you cannot get married. And guys, this is not really a big deal because they will most probably say yes, unless you have a horrible profile and they're looking for any reason to like let you go. So if you have a good profile, even if you have a warning or 2 warnings, but you still like you're a good part of the team and they want to keep you, they will of course say yes, you're fine, you can go ahead and get married. But if you have a horrible profile, full of warnings, full of problems on board, you always like make problems on board, then of course they will just say no, we don't want you anymore. Like, don't even ask for any favors or anything that you want. We don't care what you want. So do you get me here? It's not really that bad. Now I will tell you that trick I've told you that I will tell you in a bit about Emirates. If you want to still live with your spouse during that probation time, you can, if you're being smart about it, because they don't care and they will not like do anything bad to harm you or to fire you. They will not do anything. So during that time, most probably you will be staying in a hotel. This was my personal experience. I stayed in a hotel. You can have your guest with you, your spouse, your family member, your friend for 2 months staying with you. So you can just have your spouse staying with you for 2 months and then register him under your friend's name, for example, in the same hotel, or your flatmate, and then again for the other 2 months, and khalas, you know, the 6 months are over, and then you can request to live out with your husband. And this is just smart, you know, with your spouse. This is just smart. Also, they will not ask you where you're spending the night. So you can, if your spouse is already living in Dubai, you can just go and live with your spouse. They don't really care. They will not ask you like, why you did not spend the night in the hotel, or why you did not spend the night in your accommodation. They don't really care. So you can just, if they're already living there, then it's fine. You know, you can just go and live with them. If they're not already living there, so just take the first advice and apply it, and you will be fine. I promise you, you will be fine. You will not be in any trouble whatsoever, because they don't really care. For private jets, they don't hire married people. It does not matter if you're so good, but they will not hire you if you're married. And also, if you want to get married once you work in a private jet, you will be fired immediately. And I've heard a lot of stories about cabin crew that works in private jet, that they have to do anything the customer asks, and I mean anything and everything, like illegal stuff, they have to do it. And even my friend, she actually went for an interview to work for a private jet, and they asked her if she will do everything that the customer asked, and they meant everything. So she was shocked, you know, they even asked that, because that's somehow, you know, like imagine yourself working that. This is not a legal job somehow, you know, it becomes illegal job, and you're having your money in a way that is almost like prostitution, or even prostitution. Like, this is bad, for real. And now, story time. You know, guys, before, like years ago, before 2017 actually, everyone was allowed to live out when they're working with Emirates. They're allowed to live out and live in their own accommodation when they finish their probation. It does not matter if you're married, not married, you can just go and ask to live out, and they will start giving you the money to live out. But then in 2017 they changed this rule that only married cabin crew can live out, because the cabin crew accommodation became like super empty, and all the buildings became empty, because everyone wants to be free, and everyone wants to live in his own rules, and they don't follow the company rule. Because I told you before, like if even like there's a smoke detector or something, you can have a warning for that. So everyone just started asking to live out. And then after a few months as well, they added a new rule that the supervisors and the pursers can live out even if they're not married, because like so many supervisors and pursers complained. Anyways, I will tell you what the crew started doing, and I hope you guessed right. Imagine they start just getting married to each other to be able to give that certificate to the company. So for example, a girl just get married with her gay friend, and they go to Seychelles and they sign the papers, and then they bring it, and we're married, khalas, you know, allow us to live out. And after a few months they will just divorce, because when you are divorced you will not be asked to come back and live in the accommodation. This is what they started doing actually, imagine. And I know a lot of people who did that, and also other people, they just got married to, like, you know, their boyfriends that they didn't really want to get married to them, just to have that certificate. But then problems started happening, and if the company knows that you did that just to live out, you will be fired, of course, because that's just playing with the rules. And those girls have been in many problems, because their spouses started, their like only legal spouses started to like threaten them that they will tell the company, and they started sharing that money with them. So this can tend to be super like bad. So just be careful if you want to do this, but be careful who are you marrying to. It's okay if you're both cabin crew and you agree on everything, because you will both have money from the company. But if you're marrying just a stranger, just be careful, okay? And I hope you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you're not with us, hit the thumbs up and share the video if you like it, and see you on the other videos. And of course, join us on Instagram, and bye bye.